Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another review of a figure. Today I'm going to be looking at and reviewing the what you see in front of you here. That's the Metal Build Bandai Astray Gold Frame Amatsu Hana. And right off the bat, I just want to say that this figure is a little pricey. Little bit pricey. Cost me around the neighborhood of, I want to say, $400 to get it shipped to me overall. The figure itself was about $270, and then with all the shipping and everything, it came out to be a little bit more. So maybe closer to $350 to $375, but worth every penny. If you want a beautiful looking mobile suit to go in your collection and you don't want to build and paint and all of that, get a metal build. They are gorgeous. I mean, just look at this thing. It's fantastic. The detailing, the paint, the color selection, the way the metallic gold blends with the non-metallic gold paint versus the silver accent paint that stands out against the white ever so nicely. The white, the black, the red, everything about this just screams beauty. And it's such an elegant design as well. The white and the black. The Amatsu Hana is probably one of my favorite designed mobile suits. Yeah, you can say it's a little on the edgy side. It's a little on the over side. It's a little extra. But it's that little bit extra that I absolutely like. Not only that, but it's the asymmetric nature of the arms that really sets it off for me. So you've got the Astray gold frame decked out with that extra plating on the front with the gold filigree on it, compared and contrasted against that black base blitz arm over on the other side that just really sets this thing apart. Now, before we get into anything else about the kit, or about the figure itself, sorry, not kit, I want to take a minute to talk about all the accessories that it comes with, and oh boy, are there a lot. So, inside of this kit, you get not only the accessories pictured here, but you also get the spear weapon. The spear weapon, of course, from the Amatsu Mina carried over to the Amatsu Hana. The end of it can flip out into the shield. It can detach from the shaft, and there is a peg on it to fit it onto the back of the gold frame arm. It is fairly basic and straightforward. There is also a wire included that's not really fantastic in this set to have that extended attacking phase for the spear weapon, where the head can come off and fly around on the wire as if it's its own little mobile weapon. That's pretty awesome. But yeah, the wire could be a little bit better. It's a little floppy, but whatever. Next up, you've got the blaster. That is the blitz weapon. It can split apart into a bunch of little different pieces. You've got the main blaster part itself, the main bean rifle. You've got a giant sword that then attaches onto the bottom of the bean rifle in this case, and unlike a lot of the model kit representations of this particular mobile suit, this one actually does split apart, so you can have the beam rifle and the blade part separate. Plus you've got those three little needle weapons that shoot out. Each one of these little spear needle weapons is completely removable. There's a little tab on them so that when you slide them back into the main part of the beam rifle, they do tab in there quite securely. They're not flopping around. They're not going to fall out on you. They're not really all that touchy either. So it's a nice secure connection. And you can just combine the whole thing into that traditional combined blitz slash sword slash beam rifle weapon. You also get two different swords, two of which are the same sword, and then one sword that's different in this kit. You get the two little, thin, long, piercing blades that can mount onto the sides of the hip armors, and then you've got this one much longer, much wider, sort of broadsword kind of blade that has its own scabbard, amazingly detailed with the red, black, and gold. The scabbard has a nice red and white motif. That can actually attach in on the back of the mobile suit where like an RX-78 would normally mount its beam rifle or its bazooka. That's where this thing mounts that sword. I've never seen this weapon in any of the model kits that have come out for it, so that's actually a really cool inclusion on this, to have that option to have this extra sword sort of mounted on the back of your mobile suit that it can pull out and use. One thing that I'm not picturing here in the selection of accessories are the different hands that you get. If you look on the mobile suit, the ones that I've got on there is that outstretched expressive hand over on the Astray frame side. On the Blitz frame side, it's the holding hand, because I do have this thing normally equipped with the Blitz beam weapon. There's also a holding hand and an extended motioning hand for both sides, and both sides also have a clenched fist hand. Not pictured their hands. You can kind of get what they're all about. This thing also comes with a flying stand and a standing stand. So if you want your kit to be in a cool standing pose, then you have the option of doing that, where its feet are going to be flat on the base. But you also have the option of having the flying stand so that you can have it doing those really cool aerial poses. Now, I have found that the standing pose stand is really only good for standing poses. It doesn't really go down far enough to do a good kneeling pose, or, anything that requires knee bends or anything. So if you want to pose like that, you might have to get a different style of base for it. But the base itself is actually quite nice with the white and the gold lettering and symbol on it. Other than that, you don't really get a bunch of other accessories, but what you do get is a fantastic range of articulation on this beautiful mobile suit. The elbows are fantastic. You get a nice double bend that goes all the way up. The head is on a double hinged ball in the neck, and then up at the top of the neck where the head connects, that's a ball joint, so you get a lot of range of motion out of the head. The waist you don't really get much out of. Kind of your standard, if you've ever built like a sort of mid-range master grade, that's about the range of motion you're going to get out of the waist of this thing. So no real massive ab crunch, no real massive back, especially if you've got the wings on. That's going to limit that a little bit more, just based on how those peg into the top of the back and the top of the waist. So you really lose a lot of range of motion once you've got the wings attached in. The legs are fairly well designed. The only problem I have with the articulation at the hip joints is that the side armor that the swords peg into sometimes can get in the way of spreading those legs out, so you do have to make sure to lift those up to get that full range of articulation. Double bend at the knees, which gets you pretty much the full bend, and the articulation in the foot is actually phenomenal in that you have a little bit of a rocker, not as much as I'd like, but a little bit of a side-to-side rocker. The entire foot can pivot forward and back, so that's good. Plus, you've also got an intense amount of toe articulation where it can go both up and down, and the same goes for the heel. The heel itself is actually articulated. Those red blades on the back of the heel, also very articulated, also very nicely designed. So overall, this kit is just, chef's kiss nice. Just phenomenally nice. Now, I do have a few little nitpicks about it. Some of the joints are extremely tight. That's not to say that they're bad, they just are tight. So that's something that you're going to have to keep in mind while posing this thing, that you're going to have to be gentle with it. You're going to have to, really take your time and bend things into the position that you want for fear of popping anything off or breaking anything. I don't think anything's going to break super easily, but you never really know. The other thing is that the wings are massive. As you can see, I can get a pretty good standing pose out of it as long as the wings are sort of in the just straight out to the sides position. As soon as you start trying to get anything really dynamic with them, you're going to be back heavy. It's going to try and tip over, but that's what your included action base is for, so don't worry too much about that. That will sort itself out once you get it up on an action base, so I think that's okay. It's not that big of a complaint. The knee joints are really nice. However, the knee armor is actually easy to pop off. It is designed to pop off, not for any aesthetic reason, but I think just from they knew people were going to try and pose it, so they made it so that, popping it off isn't going to break anything. So you got to be a little bit careful with that on this kit, or this figure. Sorry, I keep calling it a kit, but it is a figure. But other than that, it is just an absolutely beautiful mobile suit design. The metal build really, really accentuates the gold on it. It's got that shine to it. Even the painted gold is a really nice painted gold. It's not like molded gold or anything like that. It is all painted. The red accents mixed with the gold lining on it, with those few standout areas of black on the wings and on the waist. It's just a sight to behold. These videos that I'm doing really can't do this thing justice. And that really kind of makes me a little bit on the sad side, just because of how beautiful this kit actually is. So, yeah, final thoughts on it. For the price, I think it's worth it if you're willing to spend that much. If you're not willing to spend that much and you're not willing to, do the import fees or pay the extra markup that you're going to get from a U.S. retailer, it's probably not going to be for you because there is that hefty price tag. But at the end of the day, I do think that hefty price tag gets you a lot for what you're paying for, especially in the looks department. I really wish the metal builds were 172 scale. They tend to run a little bigger than 1/100 scale, so I'd say about 190 scale, but they'll look good next to your other master grades if you are, into building kits. Definitely will fit in with all the other metal builds that you have if you have any more of them, so that's fine. But the price point is a barrier of entry for some people. If you don't want that high barrier of entry and you don't mind putting in the work, you can always get like the real grade P Bandai release of this as a model kit. That's perfectly fine. That's a really good model kit. It pulls out a lot of the same color and accents as the figure does, so you shouldn't have to worry too much about losing a lot of those details. You're going to lose like some of the really like fine accents, like the ones on the backs of the wings, the ones on the sides of the legs that say Hana on them, etc. But other than that, that's a perfectly good alternative. Other than that, I'm not really sure what your options are. But again, if you're willing to pay the money, you're willing to take that hit to have a really, really nice looking piece that you can just put up on display and have people come in and go, oh man, that looks nice, or just kind of sit and stare at and appreciate, this thing is absolutely worth it. So again, final thoughts. It's a bit of a hefty price tag for what it is, but worth every penny in my opinion if you're willing to spend the money and you want something that looks this nice. So there you have it. That's what I've got for you today. Again, highly recommend this, but don't break your bank for it. Have a nice day, everyone.